All right, hello again. So for this next video, it's not going to be very long. I'm just going to read through the article once with you. You can read along, maybe take some notes or underline some things, and then I'll tell you which questions you need to answer. You don't need to do all of them, so hopefully you're paying attention and you don't do more work than you need to. And then you can read the story over as many times as you need to get all the correct answers. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Today we are working on Farmer Finds Mammoth Bones. So this kind of ties into the Prehistoric Giants book that we read last week. It is, or maybe a week before that. Sorry, I'm getting my days confused, but it's about mammoth bones, a big prehistoric giant. Prehistoric, remember, means an animal that was around before, not an animal, just it can be anything, but in this instance, animals that have been around before written records. So mammoths were around, there were humans or cavemen around then, but they weren't keeping records of what was there. So we only know about these animals and artifacts from prehistoric times just based on like the fossils we find and preserved things from the past. So this is all just about mammoth bones, and mammoths are the very big, woolly, furry elephants. Okay, we've kind of talked about those before in the past when people weren't sure what they were called. So just a reminder there. So first, let's look at this picture. Paleontologists, remember those are the people who study fossils, will study the mammoth bones to see if early humans killed the animal. So they're going to look at the bones to see how this animal died. Okay, let's see. Farmer finds mammoth bones. So please read along with me. If you want to take any notes, I'll add some comments here and there. I will try to underline and maybe write some things, but as you know, my pen is a little wonky. So in September 2015, Michigan farmer James Bristol and a friend made a fascinating and significant discovery while digging a trench with a backhoe. They exposed a bone measuring over 3 feet, which is 1 meter in length. So this is just a farmer and her friend. These aren't paleontologists who found this. It's just your average person who was digging in their dirt and found this. Bristol contacted Daniel Fisher, a paleontology professor at the University of Michigan, who hurried over and established that Bristol's backhoe had revealed a fossilized pelvic bone belonging to an Ice Age mammoth. The pelvis is kind of like by your hips. So that's what they found first, was the pelvic bone. Since it was harvest season, Bristol allotted only 1 day to Fisher and his team of paleontology students for the excavation. So what this means, harvest season would be, when, sorry, I didn't cross that out, but there we go. Harvest season is when the farmers can harvest their crops or start taking them out. The crops are ready to be eaten or used for whatever purpose they are using them. And so she doesn't want to waste time letting these paleontologists dig out this mammoth. She needs to get her crops out of the ground so she can sell them or use them. So she only gave them 1 day to excavate this. Now, I don't know exactly how long it normally takes, but I'm assuming much longer than 1 day, because remember, they want to go slowly so they don't break anything. So let's see what happens in that 1 day. They uncovered 20% of the animal's bones, including its skull, that's its brain, tusks, those are the long teeth, pelvis, remember that's what we talked about before, and shoulder blades, as well as some teeth. Ribs are what are inside your kind of stomach here that protect your lungs, and vertebrae. Vertebrae is the backbone. Fisher's initial analysis determined that the bones belonged to a male mammoth that was approximately 40 years old. So initial analysis means his first thoughts. Analysis would be like as he was looking at these things and trying to figure out what is what. That's his first thoughts, that the bones belonged to a male or a boy mammoth that was about 40 years old when it died. Okay, over here and across. Let's go to the next page. Fisher, sorry, I can't see that word. Fisher speculates that it was an unusual hybrid of a woolly mammoth and a Columbian mammoth that roamed Earth 11,700 to 15,000 years ago during the Pleistocene Ice Age. So a speculation, or when he speculates, that's kind of like a guess. Not just a random guess, but an educated guess, because this is what he does for a living. But it says it's unusual, so not normal, hybrid, so a mix of a woolly mammoth and a Columbian mammoth. So two different types of mammoth that had a baby together. That would have been around between 11,700 and 15,000 years ago during this ice age. Apparently, intentional cut marks on some bones, as well as some accounted for bones, meaning missing bones, they're not there, led Fisher to hypothesize, this is a big word we use in science a lot, to make an educated guess, that early humans killed the mammoth and used stone tools to slaughter it. So because of some of the cut marks on the bones and missing bones, he made a guess that early humans that were around during this time killed the mammoth and used stone tools to slaughter it. Slaughter is another way to say to kill. So they used stone tools to do this. Fisher's interpretation is supported by a stone flake found near the tusks that was probably used as a cutting tool. So they even found a stone that was also fossilized or buried near the long teeth that they can assume was probably used to cut. He presumes that 3 large boulders, which weighed the mammoth down in a pond, aided in the preservation of the meat. So they're thinking that after these humans back then killed this mammoth, they took 3 big boulders, really large rocks, and they weighed down the mammoth. It's kind of gross. So the boulders were on top to hold it under the water to help preserve the meat. So remember, it's an ice age. The water would be really cold. That would keep the meat from the mammoth to stop from going bad. So that would be the preservation of the meat. The precise arrangement of the mammoth's neck bones and anatomical order also signifies human involvement, since the bones would have scattered randomly if the animal had expired naturally. So because the neck bones were still in order, this is another clue that tells the paleontologist that humans were involved, because if it had happened naturally, the bones would be all over the place because of movement. Let's finish reading here and then we'll look at these maps. In the United States, fossils discovered on private property belong to the landowner. So in the States, if you find fossils on land that you own, it's technically your property. However, Bristol, the farmer, donated the bones to the University of Michigan. That's like a university where they study. While 30 other mammoths have been unearthed in Michigan, Fisher says that only 5 compare to this recent finding. So this mammoth was found in Michigan. Throughout time, there have been 30 other mammoths discovered in the same state. This is a state in America, but only 5 of them are similar to the one found on this farm. So that must mean that maybe they were also a hybrid or a mix of 2 mammoths. Let me zoom out a little bit here so you can see both maps. So this first one says maximum extent of ice sheets in the ice age. So back in this time, in the era that this mammoth would have been alive, these were the extent of the ice sheets. So these white parts circled with red were all covered in ice. Ice sheets today, you can see how big of a change it is from 15,000 years ago, are just covered here in between North America and Asia. So mammoths lived during the Pleistocene, I know I'm saying that wrong, Ice Age, when ice sheets covered much of Earth's land back then. Today, ice covers only 10% of Earth. So this is where that mammoth was found. Now remember, before our continents looked a little different, they were closer together. So that would be about around here where there were ice sheets. But today there's no ice sheets to be found there over in North America in Michigan, where the mammoth was once found. All right, so I'm going to now flip to the questions and I'm going to circle the ones that you need to complete. You can rewind and listen to me read again as you try to find the answers, or you can just read it on your own and search for the answers. So you all have this sheet with you. Oh wait, actually, let's get the, oh no, that was what I need to do. Ah, where'd you go? There we go. All right, so let's first, I'm gonna have you do for sure these first two. What was Bristol doing when he discovered the mammoth fossil? Okay, Bristol's the farmer. What was he doing when he found the first mammoth fossil? Why was this particular mammoth considered unusual? Remember, there was something different about this mammoth than most of the other mammoths found in this area. Don't need to do number 3. All right, on the basis of the diagrams of the ice sheets, now that was the 2 maps that we just looked at, what conclusions can you draw about mammoth populations over time? So based on the first map, the top map with all of the covered ice sheets, and then the smaller map, well, the second map is not smaller, but the ice sheets are smaller in the second map. What can you conclude or guess about mammoth populations, how many mammoths were alive or around over time? From long, long ago, about 15,000 years ago, into the future. What can you conclude? What happened to those populations? What happened to the ice? We'll not do number 5. Okay, so, and on the back page, it talked about how if you find fossils on your land, your private property, it is your property. You get to decide what to do with it. Now, let's think, what would happen if all private citizens kept the fossils found on their land? Now, our farmer in this story donated it to a university so they could study it. What would happen if people did not do that? If they're like, well, I found this, I'm going to keep it for myself. Citizens who, remember, probably don't know a lot about fossils, don't know how to study them, don't know how to take care of them. What would happen if people were kind of selfish and kept the fossils all to themselves rather than donating them, or in some cases, people probably sell them? Okay. Okay, so far 1, 2, 4, and 6. I'm going to have to clear to scroll and see the last one. We actually won't do that one, so don't worry about number 7. Let me zoom out so you can see it again. Where's my pen? Sometimes it likes to come so easily. Okay, so just to, come on. There. 1, 2, not 3, 4, not 5, 6, not 7. So you need to do 1, 2, 4, and 6, just 4 of these. Write a sentence or 2. You can write it on this page wherever you have room or on another sheet of paper. Okay? We're not going to do this extension activity today. So, like I said before, you can re-watch the video, listen to me read it again, or you can just reread as needed to find those 4 answers. Okay?